This podcast is hosted by RPP.
If you are easily spooked, creeped, or offended, this might not be the podcast for you.
Are we recording?
No. But
Well, let's do that now.
We'd say hi.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
I'm Gemma.
Hello, Gemma. My name is Lana.
Welcome to I Think My Fridge is Haunted.
In case you listened to the last episode and you're like, who are these women?
We just said we forgot to introduce ourselves last time. We just presume that you know us.
You know us. It's all hard. It's season 7. We're back again.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We're back. And I'm here to tell you a very serious story.
Yeah,
today.
it's quite a change from last episode.
Yeah,
which
was
will be good.
awesome. So good.
Thank
you know
you
what?
very
I
much.
just, we need to do like a TikTok about that.
I know. Bring back the drunk history-esque
Yes.
themed videos.
The wigs.
Yeah. Will you wear wigs? I've become quite obsessed with Lord of the Rings, especially over summer. I think it's...
Why now?
I know. Well, it was one of those things, you know, last episode we talked about like not liking something out of spite. For a long time I was like, oh, Lord of the Rings. I'd always...
Really?
Yes.
You?
Yes. Yeah, I know.
I am surprised.
Very. And I always just fell asleep in the first movie, so I just never got there. I was like, it's so boring, me. And then it was COVID, changed everything. I feel like I've spoken about this anyway, but for some reason, at the end of last year, I was like, I like The Hobbit, I like Lord of the Rings. I was like, it's very like Christmassy, I don't know, like adventure movie. Let's watch it again. And I watched the extended again with my partner, and something clicked. Mm-hmm. Something in me went, oh, I love Lord of the Rings now. I understand.
I've got chills.
Yeah,
Got chills.
Good. I've joined the fray. I'm here. Finally. But I just for ages.
Surprised.
So now I will just quote any meme, any...
Oh, yeah. They're taking the hobbits to Isengard. God.
God. Did you know when Aragorn kicks his foot on the... No, I'm
Yes,
not
I know.
I'm not going to do it. But yes, I'm finally in it. And I'm just obsessed with Elijah Wood in that video.
I think it's because you're like a little bit younger than me. Like, I'm an elder millennial. And you're a regular millennial.
I'm in the middle ground.
It came out in the movies, and
Yeah.
every year it was Boxing Day. New Lord of the Rings movie comes out every year for 3 years, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah, it was a whole event, and I was too young. I would have been like 6, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe when the first one came out. So I just like.
And you
no
had to see it
memory.
on like mega screen, like VMAX.
Yes. Oh, now I desperately want to see them. Just
So good.
Like all those watching it with an orchestra. Oh.
Yes. Hey, was it you who sent me? Now, is this real that The Mummy is being re-released?
I think so. So I think that post in particular might have been for a certain theatre, but it's its 25th anniversary this year.
I would love to see that in the movies.
Love to see that in the cinema. And experience
Love that one.
It is so
The proper
iconic.
one.
The proper one. It's just, it's the bisexual dream for one. That movie. Like, I don't know how many people can relate, but it's like that did things. But Brendan Fraser, like the whole story,
They're
so
both
quotable.
awesome. She's just so wholesome and cute.
She's so beautiful and lovely, and I don't know, it's just iconic, isn't it? Immortal.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Just all of it. So yes, if it comes here,
I always think when I think about that movie, I always think about when he like removes the makeup on her arm and she's like,
oh my god,
another man touched me.
scandal.
And I always thought that it was kind of dumb because like she could probably smudge all that makeup all over her from doing anything.
Yeah, be like, I just
Went to the toilet.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I rubbed against this cat statue. I'm sorry. Do you know what? The Mummy is definitely one of the places my like history love started. I have this like really vivid core memory of being in primary school, and we were meant to do, I don't know, like a little report on whatever we wanted or something like that. And I wanted to do Egyptian history because I had the Egyptology book, you know, with all the textures and the bits hidden and everything. And I took the Mummy's word for gospel, and that was my report. like the things that happen in The Mummy.
Sources.
So
The Mummy.
that was it. The Mummy, the iconic film. That was it. I was like, yeah, this is what happened in Egyptian times. Why would it be wrong? It's so wrong because it's a movie. But I remember, like, especially the second one, I was like, yes, the women used to fight and like. I was like, it's so
Sure,
wrong.
Jan.
Yeah, they were like, okay, Lana, that's cool.
Cool story.
Very creative writing. I love it. So yes, if it's happening in Melbourne, we definitely.
I
need
would
to
love
go.
to see that on the big screen.
Oh,
yeah,
so beautiful.
It would be. Yeah, it's such a fun movie, and yeah, even when she's knocking the whole library over,
The whole library. I was thinking, you're on the wrong side of the river. Oh man, yeah, I love it.
so good.
So, should we get into some
Shall
facts?
we do some facts?
Let's do it.
Facts from the freezer.
Facts from the freezer. Should you go first this time?
I'm going to go first this time.
Do it.
I've just got a very short fact because it relates to my story. So I was on this website called the International... No, I wasn't. It was peopleleavecults.com. Peopleleavecults.com. It's actually a really good resource. If you know someone that's in a cult and you want to help them, go to peopleleavecults.com. Or if you're in a cult and you want to leave, peopleleavecults.com. It's a really, really cool website. It's got information about interventions. It's got it's got resources to help people get back into regular society.
That's fantastic.
It's also got a really cool 70s font,
Good.
which
I mean, if you
I'm
think,
so here for.
yeah, if you think of cults, you think like 70s straight away.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
it just
great.
had that cool, like, rounded kind of, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah. It's the fat like bottoms on the
Yes.
ends of the font, like
Yeah, it's very that.
that's awesome.
According to a report published by the International Cultic Studies Association,
Sign me up.
the average age that a person join a cult, take a guess?
I'm gonna say like 17.
Oh,
Okay.
25.
Really?
Yes.
So out in the world a little bit, not liking what you're seeing. Cult time.
I think it's enough time to get out there, work full time for a bit, maybe have a kid or two, and you go,
No.
this is disappointing.
This ain't it. This ain't for me. Yeah, this is disappointing. Yeah. 25.
Yeah, 25.
There you go. Well, I've just passed there, so
You're doing well.
I'm safe for now. Let's
The
go.
fridge is a cult.
Yeah, the fridges are cold. Okay. Now, just as a preface, I kind of took this fact for gospel. I haven't actually.
Is it from the Mummy?
Did you know that the mummies used to wake up and had to eat people? No. I saw this fact in the wild and I was like, that's pretty cool. I do need to fact check it, ironically, but real or no, I want to tell it. So
We're not all about fact checking here.
not always. Sometimes it's fun
throw
to
it out
just
there.
hear a fun fact. So allegedly, did you know that competitive art used to be in an Olympic sport?
Competitive art.
Competitive art. So between 1912 and 1948, so a decent amount of time, the international sporting events awarded medals for music, painting, sculpture, and architecture. Shame it didn't catch on though.
Like, would it be like speed painting, or you just rock up and you're like, this is what I spent the last 2
This is
years
what I've
doing?
done. Or do you have like an allocated amount of time to paint something and then it's like you compete that way?
That would be such a wave of emotions. I think a lot of artists would not be able to deal with that.
Well, I don't know if you're really going to see peak performance of an artist in something with parameters like that. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why it didn't last. Like art is, 3 a.m, you get inspired.
Do you know what? I was just going to say it would have to be nighttime only.
Surely. So,
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, artists don't get up before midday.
oh no, why would you? I don't want to do that. That's not when the inspiration comes, when the muses come.
And like anti-drug rules.
Well,
Well, yeah.
well, I suppose it is 1912 to 1948, so I don't think they were even I don't think they cared too much about the drug testing element.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were like, whatever, go for it. We want to see people paint real fast. We want to see them play music real fast. Sculpture.
Bust out that poetry.
Yeah, bust the poetry.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I would probably pay to see that though, because I reckon there'd be fights.
Right?
Yeah.
What if someone's like, what if you have to like paint a still life and you're all painting the same thing and you look over and you're like, yours is way better. Like you just throw it off.
I just think the time, if they had time restraints, I think they'd become very overwhelmed.
Yeah. Olympics.com. That's what I want. Look into the past when Olympic medals were awarded for architecture, music, and literature.
Wow, I wonder when they just didn't become important anymore.
I know. Okay, so medals were awarded in 5 categories. I could have done this. This could have been like 2-minute search for me before this episode. Sorry, everyone. Okay. Medals were awarded in 5 categories: architecture, literature, music, painting, and sculpture. At first, the categories were general, but were later divided into specific categories, such as literature in drama, lyric, or epic. Orchestral.
Epic.
Could
Metal.
you imagine? Oh, yes. That's why.
Stadium rock.
Yeah. Who can blow
Stonehenge.
Stone? Benjamin Franklin. Like, yeah, that's why it was getting too epic. Solo, choir, singing, drawing, graphic arts, painting. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
One fun fact is that in certain circumstances, medals were not awarded. If the judges were unable to determine a champion, they might only award a bronze medal. How jibbed would you feel if you they can't pick one? So it's like, we'll just give a 3rd place medal. That's it.
Throw it on the ground.
How would you basically
Throw it on the ground.
So there you go. Who had the most success? German competitors. Italian and French. That makes sense. That makes sense. There you go. So it is true.
That's a shame that we don't do that at the Olympics anymore. We shall have to settle with Eurovision.
I'll take it.
Me too.
I'll take
I
it.
am so looking forward to this year's Eurovision because I can't remember what the Australian band is called, but they look good and they
Is this the metal
sound good.
band?
No, that was last year.
That was last
no,
year.
that was Voyager.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yes.
Voyager
yes.
are on hiatus because the lead singer has cancer.
Oh my God. Okay.
So bad.
I'm not keeping up my Eurovision information.
I can't remember what the Australian team is called this year, but they look great. And I saw a quick clip of them rehearsing on their YouTube, on their Instagram.
Oh, yes.
And it looks really cool. They're like a soulful electronica outfit.
Electric Fields?
Electric Fields.
Yeah, cool. Cool name. Awesome. So there we go. We need to bring back competitive art for the Olympics.
I think we should. We could do competitive podcasting.
competitive podcasting. Yeah, we could. I think for writing, you'd smash it. You'd be in the Olympics for sure. Or
Me?
Yeah, for sure. Imagine like the pressure. I don't know if we could bring it back. The drug testing element is
No.
so
It's not
prominent.
possible. No. It's
Hello, Twisted Humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting? Then this is the podcast for you. In 1952, there was a record high of UFOs reported. 1,500 sightings. There has been evidence of human sacrifice, devil worship, and it is haunted by more spirits than can be counted. A family of 2 adults and 2 kids reportedly saw a giant flying thing with glowing red eyes.
And meanwhile, the family's nanny that helped Veronica to care for her and Lucian's children was found bludgeoned to death in the basement of their family home. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
all right.
Tell me
Shall
what-
we begin?
What are we talking about today?
Today, my source, I just had one source for this. It was a book. It's called 7 Bones by Peter Seymour and Jason K. Foster.
Cool.
This story begins in the Mount Druitt police station in 1990.
1990. All right.
Okay. Now, I am going to tell you the story of Australia's worst husband.
Okay.
His name is Thomas Keir.
Okay, Thomas Keir.
Yeah.
Hello.
So let's go to 1990. Detective Peter Seymour and his partner are asked to follow up on some missing persons cases. And one of these cases leads them to a house where a 22-year-old woman named Jean Keir had lived but had disappeared in February 1988.
Okay.
So we've got these two detectives. They're just kind of like, okay, what should we do at the moment? They're missing persons are like, look, we got this stack of missing persons. Can you just go through them, ask some questions, knock on some doors?
Yeah. So reread them, go through them. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jean's husband said that she had run off with another man. And it seemed to them that once they'd had a chat with the man, well, the husband, that the case was going to be solved pretty quickly.
Okay.
However, they go to the house several times and the occupant never opens the door. Finally, one night they drive past the house close to 10 p.m. and they see a light is on. They knock the door and they interview Thomas Keir, who tells them, yes, his wife had gone missing, but that she'd called him several times over the following year to say that she'd left him for another man and she'd been just checking in on their son.
Oh, okay. I thought she was just calling to be like, yes, this is just your monthly reminder that I left you.
For another man.
Bam.
No, she's allegedly just been calling up to see how their son is.
Just checking in.
Checking in.
Yeah. Hi, how's everything? You good? Oh, you sad? Sorry. All right. Sounds good. All right, bye. Like, I get it, I suppose, but also like, damn.
If you were a detective and someone put this on your desk,
Sus.
you'd be like,
Did you agree to this? Is this what's going on? Okay. I'm a little sus. I'm already sus, obviously.
Just as they were having this conversation on the front porch of Thomas Keir's house, some hoons come down the street in the car. For our international listeners, hoons are people that act a fool in their cars in suburban streets. You probably have them in your country. Here we call them hoons.
Yeah.
A car hoons down the street and crashes into their police car.
Damn.
As they're interviewing Thomas Keir on his porch about his missing
time.
wife who's not missing, she's gone
She's left
with
him.
another man.
She's left him. What a great distraction. Distraction.
Wow.
Poor
Yeah.
timing for the hoons.
So the two police officers are obviously distracted. They go, they apprehend these guys. Not before they have a physical fight. Like it's all in fight. Punches. You know, they basically all have a brawl. And then Thomas Keir is like, oh, do you want me to be a witness? Because I saw all that. And they're like, great. That'd be
Obviously.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time. See you later.
Okay.
And they leave.
Okay, so it's just done. Too much has happened. There's been a brawl. We're going home. Fair.
That's right. That's the beginning of this.
The setup. I love this.
So this is the first time that Detective Peter Seymour meets Thomas Keir, a man who would be, for the next decade, his number one suspect for the killing of not one, but two innocent people.
Next decade.
Their first meeting sticks in his mind and he can't shake the feeling there is more to the story than the man is letting on. So a few months later, in April of 1991, Detective Peter Seymour is at home when he's called to the scene of a homicide. A young woman has been strangled with a lamp cord and set on fire at a residential address in the Sydney suburb of Tregear.
Oh my God.
So Peter lives with his wife and his young daughter, who's just a toddler at the time. His wife knows that the job requires a lot of his time, not to mention his mental and physical energy.
Absolutely.
She's used to having him work long hours and worries about him being overworked and getting into dangerous situations, like brawls, when questioning people on their porch.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to encourage him to make the effort to make his family his number one priority. He's a dedicated family man. And in the book, Seven Bones, I mean, his family are his first priority. Like, he wants to be with them as much as he can, but he's also very passionate about his job as a detective.
Yeah.
When Peter is told the address of this crime scene where this woman's been murdered, he recognises the location. And when he thinks about it, he thinks, that's that house
that
where that thing
guy.
happened.
Yeah.
with the guy that he'd questioned about the disappearance of his wife, Jean.
What a strange coincidence.
Yes. So they'd never questioned Thomas Keir again after that night. And they kind of took him at his word.
Yeah.
That, okay, she's left. It's a family
Just what
altercation
happened.
that's happened. That's just what's happened.
Probably no more leads to go on anyway, so we just have to take him for his word.
Yeah. So he thinks maybe the wife's come back and he's killed her.
Right. Just, coming back after all these years, it's a plausible explanation. Yeah.
And look, and we've got this young woman and she's been strangled and everything.
That's a crime of passion
Well,
right there.
she's come back and they've not been able to sort it out.
Yeah.
At the scene of the crime, there are a bunch of police at the house, and Thomas, the husband, is sitting on the veranda with his 6-year-old son. Peter asks his colleague, actually, no, I don't think he's 6 at the time. I think he's a
I was
little
about
younger.
to say, was he...
I think he's a little younger. Peter asks his colleague to confirm that it's his wife, Jean, that's been murdered. And he says, no, his wife's name is Rosalina. She's the one inside the house.
Hey, what? Hang on, what? Sorry? Did he get remarried? What's going on?
Peter is confused, and so is Lana. And he goes inside to look at the crime scene. The bedroom is burned out, as is part of the rest of the house, but the fire hasn't destroyed the house.
Right.
The woman laying burned on the bed has clearly been murdered with a cord from a lamp which is still lying next to her, that's found around her neck. She's laying on her stomach, and when the medical examiner rolls her over, her tongue is protruding and she's been badly burned. Peter also notices she has strands of long black hair clutched in her hand. Okay. And it's basically burnt the bed. And he notices that he basically, they figure out that it's been accelerated with some sort of liquid.
Yeah.
Because the bed springs they weren't melted. Which suggests that it was a fast fire.
Yeah. Why is Thomas not in handcuffs? Why is he getting to sit out the front porch? Anyway, yes.
Well, apparently she fell on the lamp. And then...
Classic. She fell and strangled herself.
Yeah.
She got caught.
So Peter realises this man, Thomas Keir, has one dead wife and one that's missing. So Thomas Keir claims his wife, Rosalina, had been killed while he was out shopping with his son that day.
Okay.
The police take Keir down to the police station for questioning, and while Peter's colleagues interview Keir, Peter goes back to Jean's missing person report and gets in contact with Jean's parents and friends. So Detective Peter, he kind of leaves, like Rosalina's murder she's got her own detectives on the case.
Yeah, separate cases, yeah.
Peter is concerned with, where's Jean?
Yeah, maybe this will answer some questions if we can clear this up.
Yes.
Possibly, like, this guy's got to be the number one suspect for sure.
Right.
That's good detective work right there.
Yeah. So Detective Peter interviews her parents first, who are looking after Jean and Thomas's young son. Mm-hmm. He then interviews the son, who says they went shopping and they came back. His dad spoke to his mum, and then they left again to go to a different shopping centre. Okay. But when Peter asked the boy if he saw his mum when they went home, he says no, he didn't see her, but his dad said he saw her and that she's doing housework.
Okay.
And the police feel like the boy he's been coached in what to say.
Surely.
Yeah. So Jean's parents explained that Thomas had begun to take an interest in Jean when she was just 14 and he was 26.
Okay. Yeah.
So Jean's family heritage is she's like a quarter Filipino, and I want to say part Dutch and Greek as well.
Okay.
And her dad is Scottish, but her mum is like she has like a Filipino accent. Mm-hmm. So Thomas and Jean's parents, Christine and Clifford, they worked at the same upholstering business. So they saw quite a lot of each other. Jean told her mum that he was the ugliest man she'd ever seen, with a thick black monobrow that, in her words, made him look like Frankenstein.
Oh my God.
And he's got this epic monobrow. Like, he looks like, you know, the eagle from the Muppets?
Yes.
The blue eagle? He
Yes,
looks
I
a bit like him.
So proudly displaying the
Yeah.
the heritage there.
Yes. So when Thomas suggested Jean come work for the company, they thought it would be a good idea to make some pocket money. However, it did make them uncomfortable that it would put her into closer proximity with Thomas, who was openly pursuing this young girl.
Totally fair.
He would come over on the weekends dressed nicely and bring Christine champagne, and he would bring Jean flowers, and he would bring beer for Clifford, Jean's dad.
Jesus.
He would ask to take Jean out, but as much generosity Thomas showed to the family, Clifford did not like him. Clifford's the dad.
I mean, yeah, if you're pursuing your very young daughter, I
Yeah.
don't know if there's enough champagne and beer in the world.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Well, kudos to the parents for being like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah,
not going to sell my daughter.
that's right.
Yeah, good.
So finally, Christine and Clifford allowed Thomas to start taking Jean out, but I think quite cautiously they allowed it.
Yeah.
And he gave her a ring to show his commitment.
Okay.
But by age 16, she was becoming fed up with his obsessive behaviour. He would not allow her to dance with other men and told her off if she wore clothes that he thought were too revealing. At one point, she threw the ring at him, but he managed to get her to come back to him. One of the ways that he did that was to get her pregnant.
Oh, no. Ugh. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The grooming 101. Do we want to talk about that? Grooming.
Yeah. Essentially, that's where we're at. Yeah. So
Yeah.
at this point, he's like almost 30 and she's
Yeah.
like 17.
The
or 18.
manipulation, that's just not fair. Okay, right. Great.
So her parents were furious, but Jean and Thomas married in 1984 when Jean was 19. And that was when they also welcomed their son.
Okay, all right.
So the marriage, you will not be surprised to hear, unfortunately was not a happy one.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Thomas even became more obsessive than before, and he would become angry if she saw her friends or hugged family members. Like, she couldn't have friends over to the house, but he would get angry if she went out to see them. Oh my God. And she'd be like, well, what can I do?
Yeah, what am I just meant to sit here? Like,
Yeah.
am I just a little doll for you? All right.
And she had this thing, she told her mum, she said, I can't do anything right. Like, everything I
Yep.
do is wrong for him. Thomas would ask Christine to adjust clothing to be less revealing for Jean.
To the control. Oh my God.
So Jean loved basketball.
Cool.
So obviously he had a problem with that.
Of course he did.
Because he didn't want her to wear shorts. Like, even if it was really hot, he didn't like her to wear shorts.
Jesus Christ. Yep.
So he'd get upset if this is really weird. So he would even get upset if their son touched her breasts.
No. Oh my God, the insecurity.
Yes.
Ew.
And it was as if he was jealous of his own child.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nasty. Ew.
Once Jean told her mum that Thomas had hit her so hard she'd fallen down the hall and she'd wet herself in shock.
Some contraception right there.
Christine had berated Thomas and told him that he had broken his promise to look after Jean after they married. Yeah. But Christine and Clifford, they find it really hard to sort of keep an eye on the situation because she's with him now.
Yeah, well, and he's probably controlling every element of being able to see her or speak to her. Yeah, of course. Hopefully they use this as an excuse to help her, but we'll find out.
So going back to the day that Rosalina was killed, Peter interviews the next door neighbour, and he says that shortly after Thomas and the son left for the shopping centre, the second time, so they went shopping, they came back for a few minutes, went back shopping again.
Yeah.
He noticed that there was fire and smoke coming from the house, and he called emergency services.
Good.
He also says that Thomas was known for always burying things in his backyard.
Oh my God.
He said he buries everything. He buries old car engines. He said there's a big 44-gallon drum that he buried in the backyard. He said he even buried a set of gates.
What?
He's a weirdo.
Does this not sound like a little premeditative, like putting stuff in the ground and so people would dig them up? Ugh, that's weird.
So Detective Peter Seymour became obsessed with the possibility of finding this drum because he had a suspicion that the drum may contain the remains of Jean Keir, who's allegedly disappeared.
Yeah, gone,
Yes.
allegedly.
And he's convinced that if they find the drum, they'll find Jean. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, he also talks to Jean's best friend Fiona, who says that Thomas was abusive to both Jean and his own son.
Yeah.
And that Jean was desperate to leave him. She said that Jean knew that one day Thomas may murder her because he threatened that if she ever left him, he'd strangle her, cut her up, feed her to the dogs.
Right. So, yeah, the threat is there.
Yeah,
Present.
he would talk about like, oh, if I had a body to get rid of, this is how I would do it. And he would say this to everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he said that he'd grind up her bones and use it for fertilizer and that no one would ever find her.
This is not cool conversation, casual.
Apparently in 1984 in Sydney it is.
Okay, well, that's fair. Yeah. 80s.
I was wondering why Fiona didn't follow up the missing persons report, and it's not clear why she didn't because, you know, if you're the best friend...
Oh, yeah.
You'd be... Well, in 2024, you'd be knocking on the police door.
Well, you'd be bashing down doors. You'd be doing your own investigating. Yeah, you'd do anything under the earth. But again, I think it's that element of she joined a cult. It was an acceptable thing. Like maybe she heard that Jean had left and she's like, she got out finally. I'm like, oh, great, good for her. I'll just let her live her life now. Maybe it was a bit of that kind of mindset rather than...
Seems like kind of backseating it a little bit because,
Doesn't it?
like, you know, this is a guy that was obsessive about her and controlling and said he would get rid of her body.
Yeah, again, even like if you did hear that she'd left, she knew that he was abusive. She knew what he said. Like, why would you not go to the police and be like, just so you know... Actually, she told me this before she left, so do with that what you will.
Yes.
Like, best friend, I don't know about
I don't know. Hashtag different time.
Yeah. If you went missing, I'd be full investigator murder.
Well, thank you so much. I have discussed this with my husband, and I said, look, I hope that because I told him all about this case, and I said I hope that if I went missing and you told everybody that I'd had an affair and I'd left with another man, that hopefully people would understand that, you know, I wouldn't have done that because A, I'm too busy.
When would I have the time?
I don't have time for an affair.
No.
B, why would I want to clean up after two men?
Yeah, if I'm leaving a man, it's not for another one.
No.
No. No, I think there'd be a lot of us.
But then he said, but I'd tell them you joined a cult because everyone would believe that.
See?
And I said, yeah, it checks out. It does.
It works out, guys.
Yeah, it does. We always say that if the staircase, you know, the documentary series Staircase, if that had happened in our house, it would not have been 26 episodes.
No.
It would be no episodes because everyone would be just like, Jem fell down the stairs. That sounds about right.
See, this is the problem. We all go, oh, yeah, that seems right. Like, if it fits the narrative.
Probably just tripped over a cat.
That's it. People are too concerned with themselves that, like, if something fits, like, the narrative we can imagine, we're like, oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah,
like,
sure. Yeah.
You tripped over. Cam just fell.
Look, I tripped over my pants, tripped over friggin' nothing, tripped over nothing.
Dogs, animals.
It checks out.
It's so funny when you, like, in the last, when you've been talking, I remember that you said this was going to make me really depressed, and then I was surprised by what you've told me so far that I am really sad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, she did warn me about that.
Yeah, dark days.
Okay, let's see. I want to know more.
Okay. I was just like sort of wondering why Fiona didn't go to the police and all that stuff. Maybe she thought no one would believe her, but she also didn't have any evidence as well.
Well, that's it.
But she also said that Jean often had bruises on her, and that she didn't. She had to leave the house and then put makeup on. Oh. Because he wouldn't allow her to wear makeup.
No, because that's too much. What if a man sees you? God forbid.
Yeah. So while this is going on, Detective Peter reviews the interview his colleagues had done with Thomas. So remember that day that they found Rosalina's body?
Yep.
They took Thomas to the police station. He went to the parents' house.
Yeah.
And was like, what's going on with Jean? All right, yeah. So he listens to the interview.
Yep.
And Thomas claims that Jean had started having an affair with a man she met at Bondi Beach in December of 1987, so 2 months previous. And this guy's name is Carl.
What's up, Carl?
So she had told Thomas and her mother about the affair. So the affair is actually real.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Didn't expect that one.
Yeah. And so I think, honestly, so she meets this guy and she becomes, like, obsessed with this other man. She becomes obsessed with leaving her marriage.
Yeah, the hope is there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it would have been if any man had shown her any kind of attention or kindness.
Bare minimum kindness. Yeah. Absolutely. Because you would have been so, like, brainwashed and, what's the word?
Dehumanized.
Yeah. She'd just be a shell of a woman. And if one person gave her a decent, like, you look nice today, she'd probably crumble. Yeah.
Yeah, so she met this guy. She at Bondi. Well, she met him actually at the Botanical Gardens in Sydney, and they were just hanging out, and they had like a cup of tea, and they were just like got on really, really well, and then it turned into an affair. And Jean, she just seems so nice. She told Thomas all about it, and she told her mother all about it.
Oh, angel.
And Thomas went to Carl's house to confront him.
Oh my God.
But then when he waits outside his house for like 3 hours for him to turn up. Like he waits out there for ages. And then Carl rocks up and he's like really tall. So Thomas decides not to fight him. He decides to talk to him.
Okay, have a man-to-man talk.
Exactly.
Can't fisticuff his way through this one.
Yes. So Thomas sat with him for the whole like afternoon drinking tea.
Carl must be such a charmer.
Carl actually seems like an okay guy.
Good.
So finally he said, look, can you ring Jean? And could you just talk to her and get her to stay with me? And Carl at this point, Carl's like, what the hell have I got myself messed up in?
Yeah, this is not what I wanted.
So he calls up Jean. He goes, look, Thomas is here. We've spent the afternoon drinking tea. I think you should just try to make it work with your husband and work on your marriage.
Yeah, right.
So
if you only knew Carl.
Yeah. So, however, although Thomas succeeds in keeping Jean at home with him for a time, she is distant and upset. She says that she needs some time alone and that her parents tell her, go down to our caravan. Mm-hmm. So they keep this caravan and she goes, they say, go down to the caravan for a week and your sister and your sister's boyfriend are going to come as well. Mm-hmm. So she does that. Thomas claims that she called him after a few days wanting to come home. So he picked her up and on arrival, apparently she was indecisive about whether to stay or go home. He told police that he had driven her halfway home and when they stopped to get petrol, she ran off and she hitchhiked to Carl's house.
What? Okay. It seems bold for a woman who's quite conditioned.
I think she just didn't want to be with Thomas anymore.
Probably reality setting back in, especially going back home. She went, no, and just took the first chance she got.
Yeah. Carl drives her home, allegedly around midnight that night. Thomas said that Christine, Jean's mum, had called several times that night asking, is she home yet? Can I speak to her? And Thomas had told her repeatedly, she hasn't come home yet. She hasn't come home yet. She's going to call you in the morning.
Okay.
When she doesn't call, Thomas tells her Jean got up the following morning and left him for another man. As the months progress, Jean allegedly calls Thomas at several intervals, telling him she's pregnant. And when Thomas says, you need to come home and be with your son, she hangs up the phone.
Okay. So just before, did Carl confirm that he did take her home that night that Mum was trying to call?
Frustratingly in the book and through the whole book, I'm like, just talk to Carl. Just talk to Carl.
Yeah, why are we not just talking to the key kind of witness here?
He did take her home that
Okay.
night. He did take her home that night.
Yeah, all right. So telling fibs.
Yeah.
Thomas is telling fibs.
So, although Thomas says that Jean has called regularly, she never calls her family or friends. And she was really close to her parents.
Right. Very strange.
Later in the year, she allegedly calls Thomas to say that she's had a baby girl and that they are doing well, although she's broken up with the girl's father. Again, she hangs up when he allegedly asks her to come home.
You're so right. Are we asking Carl? Because, obviously the assumption is the man she left him for is Carl.
Yes.
Are we asking Carl what's going on?
Where's the child?
Where's the child?
If we can't see Jean,
Yeah.
Carl, show us your daughter.
Do you have a daughter?
It just seems so obvious to me.
Yeah, same. But I don't know if Thomas is telling the truth. That's the thing, is it?
Exactly. Well, Peter notices that part of the story doesn't add up. Why? Well, an interesting thing that Jean's friend Fiona, the bestie,
Yes.
told Peter was that she was secretly taking the contraceptive pill and hiding them from Thomas because he was trying to force her to have another baby and Jean didn't want to.
Yeah, fair.
So there's a very small chance that she would have been able to get pregnant if she was actively taking the pill. Mm-hmm. And if we believe Fiona, she was actively doing it.
Yeah.
But Thomas didn't know this secret.
Right.
And as a result, his story didn't check out.
Okay. So we're taking the contraceptive. Fiona's confirming that she can, it was a very slim chance to be able to have a baby, but he's like, no, straight away got pregnant.
She's gone off, she's got pregnant, she's had a baby.
It's hard to fight against something medical like that when we know what happens when you take contraceptive. And I don't believe Fiona has any reason not to tell the truth.
Exactly.
So, okay. All right. I love that the pill's going to catch him out. That's great.
So Peter thinks this is reason enough to excavate the yard at the house and obtains a warrant to dig up Thomas's backyard at the house in Tregear. He is certain that he's going to find Jean's remains there.
Okay.
And this whole, I've just written a note to myself saying, just ask Carl, the guy she's had an affair with.
For goodness
Why
sake.
are we not asking Carl?
It just, especially timeline-wise, Carl was the deal. He was the other guy, and then she's seen
Just go
with
straight to Carl.
If she's going to leave you for another man, when would she have the time to meet someone else? It's just, just ask Carl.
Yeah.
Just ask Carl. It's feeling very that.
So they dig up the backyard and they find various items that the neighbour had mentioned. They found a car engine.
Okay.
And they found the gates.
Okay.
They did not find the 44-gallon drum.
Okay. All right. I was waiting for the.
And this
the
neighbour
bits.
seems pretty switched on. He's he's buried gates. He's buried car engine. There's a drum in there.
You'd notice.
So they're where's the drum? Where's
Where
the
is
drum?
Yeah. Where is it? We've got to find it. Oh my God.
Peter is shattered that they don't find the drum. In fact, there is no evidence of human remains in the backyard at all.
They must have like tossed the whole backyard, surely.
They dug up the backyard. Like they got like a guy with like a
the
big diggy thing.
The big diggy thing.
And in the book, it talks about like they got permission like to call a guy with like, you know, so they weren't doing it with spades and things like that.
Yeah.
And like all the neighborhood kids were like there
Loving
and like
it.
loving it and watching, and the guy was like kind of playing to the crowd and stuff. It was very cute.
He's like, if we find something in particular, you all have to leave.
Yeah, you're gonna need therapy. Yeah. So he is also shocked to find out at this point. Now, Peter, the detective, is shocked to find out that Thomas Keir, up until this point, who has been reprimanded in custody because of Rosalina, has been granted bail at $75,000.
What? For first degree murder? What? Well, is that first degree though?
It's like 1990 though, and it's like, yeah.
Oh yeah. What's the conversion there?
I don't know. However, while his family, Thomas's family, are attempting to sort out his bail, Keir is imprisoned, and one of his co-prisoners, because he can't come up with the bail money straight away,
Well,
so
yeah,
he's got to be remanded
held.
in custody
Yep.
for the time being.
For the time being.
One of his co-prisoners claims that he told them he strangled his wife and buried her under the house, quote, in an upright position.
Okay. All right. So the house. We're looking at
So
the
it's
house
very
now.
particular.
In an upright position. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not just like a whole. I don't know. Okay. Why are you talking to your bunkmates about this stuff when you're granted
Because he
bail?
was bragging.
Yeah, oh yeah, true. That's right. They're not smart.
So the prisoner, who was allegedly a sex offender, although he denies it, hoping to receive time off his sentence, tells the police about what he's heard.
Yeah.
And then Peter remembers something that Jean's mum, Christine, had told him about the Keir house. Christine tells Peter that after Jean went missing, Thomas met a distant cousin of Jean's at a family wedding and soon after went to the Philippines to meet her family. This woman was Rosalina.
Oh.
So his two wives were cousins.
Okay. Ew. One. Okay. What? Ew. So wait, he went to meet her family when Jean wasn't there? She wasn't here at the time, or was she?
Jean's left him from another man.
Okay.
So at this point, Christine and Clifford, they're still close with him.
Yeah,
Even
right.
though he's told him a bunch of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, she hasn't called me. Why does she keep calling you? And he's like, well, she definitely called.
Yeah.
You know, she's fine. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, look, we're going to this family wedding. You come along as well. And at the wedding, he meets Rosalina. So then he goes to the Philippines to meet her family. And after the trip, Thomas comes back to Australia for a short time before travelling back to the Philippines to marry her.
Right.
After this, they come back to Australia and they lived with his parents for a few months. Now, the reason that they did that is because Thomas, because they were travelling so much, he had rented out his house to a single mum and her child while they were away.
Okay. Oh no.
However, soon after, Thomas, Rosalina and his son moved back into the house. Mm-hmm. So Christine tells Peter the name of the woman who had rented the house, and he looks for this woman. Mm-hmm. She said that while they lived there, she was bothered by an awful smell coming from under her son's room.
Okay. Oh.
And also, she said, in one of the bedrooms, there were dark stains on the walls that she thought may be blood stains.
Okay. On the walls. Interesting. Or is there bloodstains on the floor too? No?
Blood stains on the walls. What?
Oh, bloodstains on the walls. Because, yeah, no, I thought you meant like it was.
It means he was smacking her around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I'm trying to connect dots that just aren't there yet. I haven't got enough dots.
They're not there.
I'm so enthralled.
So, also, the woman that was renting the house, her dog would come up from under the house with bones and clumps of hair.
No. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Christine says that one day she was at the house when Thomas had moved back in, and she picked up a large bone and held it up to Thomas, saying his German Shepherd had just brought it in from under the house.
Oh my God. This is happening for a decent amount of time. Dogs are pulling out bones from under there.
Could she have been holding her daughter's own bone?
Oh, probably.
Had Keir buried her under the house after all? They hadn't excavated that area, only the backyard.
Yes.
And Peter is convinced that Jean's remains are in the drum under the house.
Yeah.
Peter takes this information from the fellow prisoner and obtains a warrant to conduct a second dig. They begin to dig under the house, and on the first day, they find absolutely nothing.
Okay.
On the second day, they cut through the floor of the house in order to be able to dig down.
Oh, this house is just getting destroyed.
Yeah, well, Peter's superiors begin to worry about the reputation of the New South Wales police for destroying a man's house that may well be innocent. Mm-hmm. However, and don't forget the house is half burned as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
So, you know.
Rickety wrecked house.
However, they found one tiny bone that they think it could just be a chicken bone, because there's an old goose pen in the backyard.
Okay.
So they think it could be part of that.
Whatever.
They have the bone sent to the medical examiner to look at right away. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Peter is called back to the office to be reprimanded for damaging the house.
Okay, yeah.
As he's talking with his superior, there's a knock on the door. Peter's colleague comes in and confirms the bone is human.
Okay. This is like, it's playing out like a movie. This is insane.
Can you believe
Teeny tiny.
you don't know this case?
I'm just thinking that. I was like, why is there not a show about this? Why is there not
Do
a
you know
movie?
There is one true crime YouTuber that has covered this.
This is
one.
insane.
You look for podcasts about this, you will not find them.
Until now.
Until now. As he's talking to his superior, there's a knock on the door. The bone is human, and they are given permission to keep digging at the Keir premises. Right. At this point, his superior is like, get back in there.
Yeah. Can you imagine the superior's like, why did you do this? Da 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 da. And then, boss,
What are you doing messing around here?
Yeah. What are you wasting time here?
Yeah. In total, that day, they find 7 tiny bones.
Tiny bones. Mm-hmm. And the dog's been bringing up full-size ones. Okay.
And clumps of hair. Mm-hmm. We find out much later that these are a finger bone from the right hand. The second bone was the proximal phalanx of the big right toe.
Okay.
The third bone was thought to be most probably a proximal phalanx of the right thumb.
Well done. Well done.
The fourth bone was the left patella, which apparently is the kneecap.
Okay.
The fifth bone was the capitate bone from the left wrist. The sixth bone was the third metacarpal, the base of the middle finger on the left hand. And finally, the seventh bone was the proximal phalanx of one of the right fingers. So it could be like any of these ones. It could the base of like your middle finger, your ring finger, or your index finger. It could have been one of either of these.
Okay. So we've got a lot of hands and feet.
And wrists and knees. And
Yeah.
Peter takes the bones to be tested in Melbourne, and the results come back as belonging to Jean.
Wow.
However, and it's actually quite cute in the book because he takes a flight down to Melbourne and he doesn't realise Melbourne's going to be cold, and he just wears like shorts and a t-shirt and he's freezing.
Oh my God, it's the most classic thing. It's still happening. That's very sweet.
So, however, the lab in Melbourne isn't able to replicate the results, and it's suggested that the bones are sent to the US for more definitive, more invasive testing.
Wow. Okay.
This is the early 90s.
True. And I assume because different states maybe has to get the details within the New South Wales police. Like, I don't know about that kind of side of
They
it.
were basically just like, take it to Melbourne. They've got the best technology in the country
Right.
at the time.
Yeah.
And then Melbourne was like, you need to take it to the
need
US.
more.
They're even better.
Right, yeah, cool. Okay, I see.
It's a long process to get permission and funding to do this. And Peter really doesn't have anyone advocating for him.
Yeah, it sounds like he's really backing this
This
one
takes
in.
years. It takes like 4 years.
Yeah. Imagine how long it takes now compared to the 90s. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Good on him for sticking with it, though.
So they also find there is one issue with the DNA testing situation. That the DNA in the bones needs to be tested alongside the blood samples from Jean's parents to definitively call them her bones.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how did they know that the bones were hers even in Melbourne?
I don't know.
Yeah, I assume, blood testing and things like that. But yeah, you have to compare really the DNA, surely.
So there's just one problem. When this is brought up to Clifford and Christine, Jean's parents, it is revealed that Clifford is not Jean's biological father.
Oh, shit.
So Christine was pregnant when they got married with another man's child, and Clifford agreed to bring up the baby as his own.
Whoa. Oh, I thought he might not have known. That would have been insane.
Well, no, he knew.
Okay.
He knew.
Okay, it's still crazy, though. Wow, this got, like, so many twists
Twists and
turns.
turns, right?
God. Okay.
Police take a month to locate Jean's biological father and finally are able to obtain a blood sample. In 1993, the trial for Rosalina's murder takes place.
Right. Okay.
So we're kind of skipping around in the timeline at the moment.
Yeah, bouncing back and forth.
Yeah. When Keir takes the stand for Rosalina's murder at the trial, just as he is about to speak, there is a loud clap of thunder, which makes it impossible to speak in the courtroom.
Okay.
Despite this weird omen and the evidence put to the jury, Thomas Keir is inexplicably found not guilty of murder and is released.
Damn it. Yeah. Yeah.
They had been successfully convinced that Rosalina had been murdered while Thomas and his son were out shopping.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. I suppose, again, being unbiased and with the evidence you've got, yeah, all right, sure.
Soon after, Keir attempts to paint himself as a grieving husband in the media, which doesn't necessarily work in his favour, as he's a generally unlikable guy.
Is it the monobrow?
It doesn't help. Doesn't help.
Just a few plucks and he'd be much better off.
Some waxing. In an interview on Today Tonight, he claims to have been wrongfully accused of murder. And when he is asked by the reporter why he wouldn't look at her when he spoke, he told her he had a bad neck.
Okay.
Sure.
Sure. Your eyes just can't look that direction when your neck is sore. That's what happens.
Right. Can't look at anyone.
This man, he's telling fibs. Fibs. Anyway.
He claims that Rosalina was killed by someone who is still out there on the streets and that Jean is still alive.
Okay. Spinning the web.
Furthermore, he claims that Jean got caught up in a religious cult
No, come on.
that Carl was involved with.
Oh, yes, Carl. Carl did it.
He's clutching at straws.
He's just pulling every cliche out of book
Yeah.
and be like, this will
Yeah.
work, this will work.
Yeah.
Especially like in Australia, like it's just not as common. Like it would have been known, it would have happened, but it's just not as big of a thing here, I suppose. But I suppose in the 90s they were like, sure.
There were cults around
Yeah.
that. Yeah, look, there was a few cults
Yeah, okay, fair.
active in Australia at the time, but it doesn't mean that she went to one.
Yeah, fair.
And who leaves their kid?
Well, that's the thing as well. So he would have been so young and she seems like, it just seems out of character.
Yeah.
Like even before all the other lies he's told, it just seems not. If you knew her, it would have seemed strange, surely.
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Around this time, Detective Peter Seymour trains to become a prosecutor. And Jean's case is taken on by other detectives. However, Peter is able to keep an eye on the case from sort of
Distance.
the distance.
Yeah, good.
And he gets involved when he can.
Yeah, great.
He's especially determined to bring justice to Jean for Christine and Clifford, since Keir was acquitted of Rosalina's murder. So he's basically like, we couldn't get you on Rosalina, but we can get you on Jean.
Yeah, yeah. Like, he probably has like that gut feeling of like, yes, he's done something. He probably feels responsible.
At this point,
Yeah.
Thomas Keir is like his nemesis.
Yeah.
He hates him.
Awesome.
He's like, I am going to get you.
Yeah, you
He's
just
like-
wait, buddy. It's on.
Right. So a new coroner named Jan Stevenson works with Peter and advocates for the case. So Peter and Jan get along really, really well, and she's like, what do you want me to look at? And he's like, look, there's this case. I've been working on it for years. I'm obsessed with it.
Need you to.
Jean Angela Keir, she went missing. He said she friggin' joined a cult.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Said all the cliches.
And she's like, okay, what can we do?
Yep.
So Peter has great respect for Jan because she's a very commanding, no-nonsense kind of person. And Peter tells her he's been told the bones should go to the US for DNA testing as they have the best technology at the time. However, the case is being held up and no progress has been made. Jan demands for the bones to be sent to the US for further testing.
Oh my God, yes, Jan.
And like that, they're gone.
Powerful woman, yes.
The results determine. Oh, and I didn't write this, but the people that conducted the testing, there are two female scientists, absolute legends,
Awesome.
like really smart ladies, and they specialized in finding out who remains belong to from the Vietnam War and World War II.
Wow.
And also from plane crashes and natural disasters.
Wow.
So basically they take pieces of remains and they figure out who they belong to. That is their job.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, cool.
And they have to be pretty invasive with the bones. Like they have to
Pull it apart.
like shave them down.
Probably like
They really have
Reaction.
to get in there.
Yeah. So can't be too delicate about it.
Yeah. So the results determined that the bones belong to Jean without a doubt. Or it's like 1 in 600,000 or something. It's something huge. Thomas Keir is charged with her murder.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
And the trial starts for Jean's murder in 1999.
Whoa.
So at this point, Jean's been missing for 11 years.
Oh my God. Yeah. I bet Fiona feels pretty bad at this point. Poor Angel.
She either feels really bad or she feels pretty good.
Well, yeah, I suppose every bit has counted to get to this point now.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Friends and relatives take the stand and say Jean desperately needed to get out of the marriage and that many of them witnessed Thomas tell her he'd kill her and feed her the dogs if she ever left him. This claim came up many times. They said that Jean had become thin and sick-looking and often had bruises on her. She was no longer happy but anxious and afraid. She gave up basketball because of his overbearing jealousy and controlling behaviour. He wouldn't let her wear the uniform. Meanwhile, the man who tipped off police from prison about Keir's admission to him that he had killed and buried his wife also took the stand and gave evidence.
Great.
Legend.
So it's all coming together now. This is why.
Finally.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Jean's sister and partner, who had been at the caravan park the day Jean had gone home, both said that Thomas had come to the park and dragged her to the car and thrown her into the passenger seat. And when she tried to escape out the driver's side, he threw her back in and locked the door.
Okay.
So that doesn't suggest to me that she wanted to go home.
I was going to say, that's not indecisive at all.
No, she didn't want to go.
Abuse.
So that's, it kind of makes more sense.
Yes.
After this, Jean escaped from the car at the service station and hitchhiked to Carl's place at Bondi, and that makes more sense.
That makes way more sense.
Carl takes the stand, finally,
Carl.
and denies ever seeing Jean again after he dropped her off that night. Mm-hmm. He confirms saying hello to Thomas and that he was invited inside, but I think he just wanted to get out of the situation. He was just like, I got to go. He's like, it's a long way home. I got to go.
Yeah. And also weird to invite someone in at midnight
Well,
after you've just brought their wife.
Well, yeah. He said that Jean had wanted to move in with him and that he had encouraged her to work on the marriage with Thomas. Thomas Keir said that after Jean was dropped home, they had coffee and talked. I feel like every time I'm saying, like, Thomas said, you just go into fantasy land.
Yeah, exactly.
Christine, Jean's mum, rang several times, but each time Thomas claimed that Jean had motioned that she didn't want to take the call. So he allegedly told Christine that Jean had gone to bed. Before he had said, oh, she'll call you tomorrow. But then he's like, oh, yeah, she's here, but she's gone to bed. And he's just crap. He's a crap person.
Yeah, I was going to say, the yada yada.
Thomas Keir continues to say that Jean is alive and that there was evidence that she came back to the house to get clothes after she left.
Okay.
Such as that she had left cigarettes in the ashtray that were her brand. But all we've got is his word. That's all we've got.
Yeah, exactly.
He said that she had called every few months to check in, but that when he mentioned Rosalina, she would hang up. Thomas also claimed that Jean had called him that he should remarry because their son needed a mother.
Okay, yeah, sure, Thomas.
However, on top of all this, the DNA evidence from the bones is conclusive. Mm-hmm. In addition, it was stated that the bones had been buried for a short time, certainly not a matter of decades.
Okay.
So she'd been buried during the time that they lived in the house. This was not some historical body or something.
Okay, all right.
Thomas Keir is found guilty of Jean's murder after the jury only deliberates for 90 minutes.
Awesome.
However, over the course of the next 8 years, Keir goes on to appeal his case and have his trial reheard 3 times.
Oh my God.
So he's actually acquitted twice and then found guilty again.
Yeah.
And ultimately he can't get out of it.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you just wanted to confirm again that you're super guilty? Awesome.
Right.
Bam.
Each time he is found guilty and is ultimately sentenced to 22 years in prison. So the only thing that came from his appeal is that he did have his original sentence lowered.
Oh, okay.
I think originally he had 26 years and then it was made 22.
Yeah, they're right. All right.
He was eligible for parole in 2014. However, he was not granted release until October 2020.
Oh, damn.
After which he went back to working as an upholsterer.
What a time to be released from prison.
Have
2020. Welcome to the world. Are you sure you don't want to stay in?
From prison to lockdown.
Yeah, to another one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So there has been some concern about him being a threat to women even after his release, and he was found to have been meeting a woman at a nudist beach and visiting her house. As well, I don't know how they know this, as well as allegedly watching online videos of naked yoga. And there was some talk of him in 2022. There was a demand for him to be deported back to England, even though he's not lived in England for like 35 years or something.
Okay.
But some people have said, send him back to England. He's a danger to people.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Yes. At
Understandably.
which point, I think, as far as I know, he's still upholstering in Sydney.
Okay.
Jean's parents have both now passed away, and Detective Seymour visited Christine in hospital just before she died. She thought of him as family and always held him in high regard for the dedication he showed in trying to get justice for her daughter, Jean Angela Strachan. He never gave up on the theory that Keir had moved Jean's body after marrying Rosalina and moving back into their house, putting her body in the 44-gallon drum the neighbour had told them about.
Right, yeah.
So basically, the rest of Jean's body has, to this date, never been found.
Okay.
I think that he kicked out the tenants, moved Jean's body, put it in the drum, took the drum somewhere.
And then buried it.
And I think, as he said, that he buried her upright.
Yeah. What does that even... What? Okay.
Well, I think as he was dragging her body out, because he's buried her upright, the littlest bones have got stuck in the earth.
Yes.
And he's just not seen them.
Yeah.
And as a result, these little bones
Have been left behind.
and have been able to be tested.
Yeah. It's a little like, I don't know, it's like Jean wanting, almost like leaving that justice behind. She was like, no, you're not going to just disappear me. That's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So that's the story of
Worst husband.
Peter Seymour and his plight to put Thomas Keir behind bars. The worst husband in Australia.
Yeah, well, thank you to Peter for his hard work and dedication, because that guy sucks.
And I think, even though Rosalina did not get justice,
Yeah, well,
I
that's
think
the
we
other
all
thing.
know what happened.
I mean,
Come on.
with such an insane history and reports of what he was doing with Jean and saying to her and abusing her, it is I'm going to say a shame. It's immoral that poor Rosalina didn't get that justice as well. When it's fucking obvious that something like that's happened.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the ways that he tried to get appeal was they tried to get an appeal on the bones, on the testing of the bones, say that the 1 in 600,000 or whatever it was wasn't conclusive because it was still one.
But maybe
grasping
at straws.
They also tried to challenge the scientists that the bones had been contaminated with someone else's DNA, and they said, no, basically we shaved them right down. We don't take the DNA from the surface. We go right down into the bone. There's no way it could have been contaminated.
Exactly. And also these women's jobs to do stuff like that. Don't you think they know how to tackle contamination?
Oh, they completely put the prosecutor on his ass. Not the prosecutor, the
defendant, lawyer.
Yeah, they were just like, no, there's no, they had an answer for everything.
Incredible. These cases, the courtroom would have been so interesting to watch, and just
The thunder,
that is such a cool little moment detail. As you said, an omen.
There was this really nice part in the book at the end where Christine comes home and there's a bunch of flowers and there's a letter, and it's from one of the jurors. And they don't say their name, but they were just like, thank you so much. We feel like we know Jean and she's such a part of our lives now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
I think it'd be a hard one not to take to heart if you were a juror. It is just so clear that she deserved justice, both her and Rosalina do. So yeah, that's really sweet and very nice for especially a now grieving mother and stepfather, I guess. Wow, what an insane story. That was awesome. Thank you so much for telling that. I just went on such a journey with you. Trying to connect everything when it's happening.
Watch something funny tonight.
Yeah, I think
TV.
I will.
Yeah.
I think I will.
But how wild is it that no one knows this story?
I know.
It's
Where is the special?
What? You've got your Anita Cobbies and you've got your all
your twists, your turns. This story had everything.
Your Lynette Dawsons, and we've got all these missing women and murdered women, and your Samantha Murphys and everything. And this is two women that no one knows about.
Yeah.
But this case is wild.
Well, you've just added to that by talking about them, and I say thank you, and everyone who's going to listen is going to know this story now, so thank you for doing it.
Good.
I think we definitely need a kind of ABC yes.
Or an ABC special. Yes.
And an ABC special for sure. And if you need narrators, we're right here. We're ready to go. She just did it. Let's go. That was incredible. Thank you for telling their story. Is that good? Is that a weight off now?
Yeah, this has been one of my, you know how you were saying you had been like, you know, stomping around being really mad for the last month or so?
Oh, yes.
That's been me with this.
Yeah, totally. I don't know what I was expecting when you're like, you're going to be depressed. And as soon as you started telling the story, I was like, oh, I see.
Just frustrating.
So frustrating. I'm glad that taking people for their word and those kind of cliches of she ran off isn't as easily accepted anymore.
Yeah.
For sure. It's everything is questioned 12 million times. So yeah.
Just want to show you, this is a picture of, this is Jean
Oh,
here, and that's him.
ugh, he looks great.
Yeah.
She's gorgeous.
She looks real sweet.
She does.
Just
look
looks like
sweet.
anyone's mate, doesn't she?
She does. She looks like a very cutie patootie Australian gal.
Yeah.
And he looks like an absolute creep.
He does.
No, if you have a monobrow, it's totally fine, obviously. But this is that's
Don't kill two people.
don't kill two people about it. He looks a bit intense and scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
Just look. Oh, this is where he said he had a bad neck. Here. I've got a bad neck.
He's
Sure.
just not
Sure you do.
looking at her at all. He's just facing forward while the interviewer is trying to
You
got a
wanker.
bad neck.
Anyway, shall we wrap it up?
I think we should.
Follow us on Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram. If you are listening to the podcast right now, you can actually watch it as well on YouTube.
Yes, don't forget, we're on YouTube. There's a camera.
There is the camera right there. We've got some great lighting going on. So please go jump on our YouTube. It's I Think My Fridge is Haunted. Like everything is. Yeah, comment. What did you think of this story? Had you heard of this story?
Yes, had you heard it? And tell other podcasters to tell this story.
Absolutely. Now that you know the story, go tell others, and let's hope we can talk more about it. Maybe people will find out more. We'll get more facts. I don't know. Although it seems like you went in and out as much as you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jump on our Instagram, have a conversation. We want to talk to you guys, and yeah,
We'll see you again next week.
we will see you next week with another story. And until then, be creepy.
But don't be a creep.
Bye. Think you're getting away, boy. Like,